All right, everyone, I'm going to show you how to make a Microsoft form for your surveys as part of your NEA summer work. So I've just gone to Google, I've typed in Microsoft Forms because that is my form maker of choice. And then, by the way, you can sign into this using your Microsoft 365, no problem. So you don't have to use a special or create any account for this. So just by creating a form, you can then give it a name, like so. I would then also, in this part here, particularly as you're likely to use this as your target market research, so it's likely to go to more than just your client. So you might want to put a brief description of the brief. So I would put that there. Oops. And then you can start to build your questions. So I would say a good multiple choice survey of your target market would have between sort of 8 and 10 questions, or 5 really good ones if you're sort of struggling to think of things. But generally speaking, if you're going to send this out to your target market, that means that you're sending it out to, say, 10 to 15 people within the age range of your client. So asking them how old they are may not be the best possible question. So think very carefully about what type of question is going to help support you in designing the product for the user. So you might want to say, ask them things about design styles, colors that they like, how much they would be prepared to pay. So there's an example written in there. It's always good to give them a range, so a sensible range, so 5 to 10. And you can go on and on and on with this, and you could even sort of go up to sort of like 50 plus, for example. You can decide if you're happy for the people filling this in to select multiple answers. So if you just want one answer per person, leave this. But if you're happy for them to select a few, you can change it to that one there. And if this is a really important question that you want answered, I would make it a required question. So likewise, have things on favorite colors. So writing this very quickly. So you can start to fill those in, and look, when it's something that they're expecting, AI might even help you out. So if it's multiple answers, you can put in a limit. So you could say equal, they're allowed to pick up to 2, for example. Now, multiple choice questions are probably the best if you are going to ask sort of a large number of people. But if you're just interviewing your client, you might want to give the option of free text. So if you're going to perhaps not see them in person, but ask them to fill something out and you want their written answer, you can use the free text part as well. The other ones which are quite good are sort of the rating. So you can say, how important is it your product stores? And you could sort of list the items, the individual items that you're thinking of perhaps storing inside, because that could give you some quite useful information. You can also sort of have a ranking system. So if you are designing something where you're storing a variety of things, they could sort of say what their top and bottom priority is. So say you were designing something to store tools. Um, so it could be, for example. Now, if you want to see at any time what your form will look like when it gets sent to the user, you can have a look so that you can see how that ranking system works. You can see how that part works and such like. Oh, select 2 color options. Okay, and then they'll be asked to submit like so. And then what will happen is that you're in the response part here that you've got, you'll be able to look at that, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. So that's largely how you create your form. And as I said, I would, don't overdo it. Something like 8 to 10 questions will suffice. And then what you can do is, once you're happy with it, go collect responses. I change this here to anyone can respond. If you don't, if you leave it as its default setting when logged in onto your SWIPS login, unfortunately, only people who have a SWIPS email will be able to do that. So it's probably best if you do anyone can respond, shorten URL, and then you can copy this link and you can send that via email, Teams, WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever, however it is that you're communicating with your target market, you can paste that link in. And I would say that that's probably the easiest way to go. Now, I'm just going to create some false responses here. Like so. Just so I can show you the next step. Okay, so I've asked a couple of people now responses for my survey, and what you can then do once you've got those results in is you can click view responses, and annoyingly, oh, I think I've clicked on my old one. Yeah, so what you can do once you've sent it out to a few people, you can click on view responses. And you can see that it creates those lovely graphs that you would have seen on the example pages for you already. So what you can do is you can use the snipping tool. So, and then you can copy and paste them into your Microsoft slides. So you don't need to make the graphs and everything yourself. That's already there. But just make sure that you get it up to a reasonable number if you are planning on this being your target market feedback. So obviously, if you're just going to use this as a means to interview your client rather than have a face-to-face conversation, you obviously only need one response, and you can click on check individuals responses to get that information. And where you've got that free text, you'll literally be able to copy and paste that and present it in a nice way on your Google Slides page. So that's how you use Microsoft Forms to set up something like this. You can use Google Forms as well, which is very similar, but my tip would just be making sure when you go to collect your responses that you've done it so that everyone can respond, because you may be asking people that aren't students at SWIPS, and the same privacy settings will be the default. So you do just need to make sure that you've changed that. Make sure you remember where you've saved it. So you can see I've got a whole host of things in here that I have. So you'll be able to find it providing you've logged in using your school login. I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions, I will try and find some stuff for the online as little pointers as well to help you.